Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today I'm doing a review of The Accident Season by Moira Fowley-Doyle. So this is a contemporary fantasy that I think takes place in Ireland that follows a family during what they call the accident season, which is 1 month every year in October. Their whole family becomes incredibly accident prone, and sometimes it's small things like cuts and bruises, and sometimes it is really big, like people have died. And this year our main character, Cara, who is one of the daughters in this family, is trying to figure out why the accident season happens. There is also a mystery component where one of her friends from school has gone missing, and she doesn't know why. No one else seems to notice that this girl has gone missing, and she thinks that somehow it's connected to the accident season. So she and her siblings and her friend set out to find out what has happened to their classmate and to figure out what is the accident season. So this book I read because earlier this year I read The Spellbook of the Lost and Found by Moira Fowley-Doyle, and I really loved it, so I wanted to read more of her work. As far as I know, she only has 2 books out, which is this one and Spellbook. So decided to read The Accident Season. This one I have some mixed feelings about, so let's start off with the good things and then we'll talk about the not so good things. First of all, I really like Moira Fowley-Doyle's writing. That is one of the definite strengths of her books. I really enjoy her writing. I find it very easy to read. It is very atmospheric, and also for some reason, these books are addicting. This book was definitely very addictive to read. I felt like I just had to keep going. I had to keep reading. Even if I didn't really know what was going on. That's another thing that I will talk about a little later. And I went through this book really, really quickly. It's not a very long book at all, but I just flew through it because it was so easy to read and so addictive to read. So those are some of the things that I thought were strengths of the book. Now on to some of the things that were not as great about it. This book was incredibly confusing. I had no idea what was happening pretty much the entire time. And I was assuming like, okay, at the end of the book, they'll explain it and all of this stuff that was confusing will kind of like, oh, fall into place and it'll make sense. It's not really explained at the end, at least not to my satisfaction. And I think that Moira Fowley-Doyle seems to kind of have this style where she wants this like mystery and this a little bit of like confusion and like you never quite know what's going on. But I think that this book did it a little too much. You can definitely see that she has improved as a writer over time because this is her first book and Spellbook of the Lost and Found was her second book. And from one to the next, I can definitely see that she's gotten better at balancing that mystery with feeding you enough information that you know what's happening. You're not completely lost, that maybe you don't know everything, but you're not just like zero idea what's happening. While I was reading this, my reaction or my one emotion was just question marks the whole time. It was just all question marks. So I didn't love that about this one, but I do think that she has grown as a writer and has found a better balance between those things and using that element of mystery and confusion. So I'm very interested to read more of her books to see how she continues to develop and balance those aspects of her storytelling. In this book, there was also a romantic plot that was very strange, that I was not a fan of, that I don't think that it's a spoiler because it's like pretty obvious from the get-go. It's like borderline incestuous. It's like technically not incest, but like with things like that, the technicalities don't really make me feel a lot better. So I wasn't a big fan of the romantic relationship that was happening in this story. Unrelated to that weird relationship, I would put some warnings on this for abuse, sexual abuse, child abuse. Those are things that don't happen on the page, so it's not like we watch that happen, but it is a prominent part of the story and some of the characters' backstories. Overall, this book had kind of an ephemeral feel to me, while I did enjoy the atmosphere of it, because it felt like it didn't really have a plot, and because I didn't really understand what was happening like 90% of the time. It felt like the book like almost didn't even happen. It felt very ephemeral. It just sort of like evaporated from my mind. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was fun to read, but it wasn't great. So that is all for my review of The Accident Season by Moira Fowley-Doyle. Let me know in the comments below if you have read this book, what you thought of it, if you agree or disagree. I would love to talk to you about it. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye!